Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is about how to draw realistic looking cherries using simple colored pencils. The steps that I will show you today have two different methods. It will help you to learn and explore more. Also, if you're new to my channel, please do subscribe and hit notifications so you don't miss any upcoming videos. So let's jump right into the video now. So first of all, we need our outline on which we will be doing our work. So there are two cherries side by side. We need to pinpoint where exactly the two cherries are. Then draw two circles, large or small enough to your liking. Then following the reference, we are going to give a bit of shape to the cherries, or the upper part and lower part as well. After the shapes are complete, we will draw stems of the cherries, not making them stiff, but instead give a bit of shape and add a tie knot, as I am doing here. After that, we will draw the top part of the stem where it's cut and has ended. I decided to make the other cherry a bit close as it was too far off, so I am redrawing it again. The circles don't need to be perfect, but should hold the shape. Once we're done, use the eraser to lighten the drawing so we can start coloring the drawing. First of all, you can note down these shades of different pencils with their names and numbers, so it will be easier for you guys to follow along. We are going to go with the first method, that is going lighter to dark, which means that I will be using the shades that is very light, and in the end we're going to add shadows and highlights. The first color that I will be using right now is by Faber Castell Watercolor 430. But before we continue, first we are going to take a simple red colored pencil, and that is by Faber Castell Classics. With this red color, I am going to shade all over the place in the two cherries. And because I want to leave the section of the highlights, I am trying to go very gently over the paper and slowly build the layer. Now I'm using the Faber watercolor pencil number 426. This is going to be the midtone value, and we'll only put it in the places where we find the midtones in the reference image. I figured that the darkest purple shade that I wanted to use is not working out, as it's not very pigmented as I wanted it to be. So I switched it to the Faber Castell watercolor pencil shade 425. And I'm trying to use it in the sections where I want the darkest parts or the shadows to be. After using the darkest purple color, I'm going to switch back to the red color, that is Faber Watercolor 426 shade that we have been using before as well, to get the midtone values. But this time we're going to press a bit harder to get into the tooth of the paper. And we're going to keep building the layers in order to achieve very smooth texture. Now I'm going to use the Faber Castell Classic black color. You can use any black color to your suitability. And with this black color, I'm trying to achieve the darkest shadows. And I'm not trying to go very dark into very depth. I'm just trying to get into the little bit of those colors where the shadows are supposed to be. Okay, so a quick reminder, Sakura Gel Pen doesn't work with watercolor pencils due to them being waxy. Only correction pen or white paint pens will work out on them. If you're using Faber Castell Classics or any other ordinary pencil, Sakura Gel is the best to get tiny highlights. After getting the highlights with the pen, I'm going back again with the black pencil, trying to get the darkest values again, and also using the 430 shade, the lightest one that we have been using before, to tone down the highlights so it looks a bit more natural. Okay, so now is the second method. That's going dark to light, which means using the darkest values first and then going to the midtones and lighter tones. So first, I'm going to use the black color onto the parts where I believe there are shadows or following the reference image. Now, after completing the black color and the darkest values, we are going to come back onto the watercolor 425. We're going to use this purple shade to get into the darkest tones, the second darkest tones on the cherry. After using the purple shade, or the second darkest value, we are going back to our midtone value, and that is the red shade. Now going back to the lighter color, I'm just trying to mix up and blend out everything. Now I will use the correction pen to put on the highlights, and you have to put these highlights following the reference image. This correction pen releases a lot of feuds sometimes, so you have to be very careful while using it. If you have no other option, you can still use these things. As I saw and learned through this method, I think that going from dark to light is more fascinating, and that is why I want to go back into the first cherry that I did, because it is a bit more light and it lacks a bit of shadow. I'm going to go back and use the black pencil to darken up the values again. I am also going to use the red base color that we used before just to tone down the highlight section, because we don't want the highlights to be very harsh and not so realistic. Now is the part where I'm going to use the lightest color or around the areas where there are highlights, and I'm going to use the darkest colors on the sections where I can see the darkest values. I'm going to press the pencil onto the paper just a bit hard to finalize it. The stems have yellow highlights, and that is why we're using the yellow color as their base. Then using Faber Castell Watercolor 470, I'm trying to put in dark lines to show a bit of detail. These lines will add realistic values to the cherry. Now I'm using the Faber Castell Watercolor 459 pencil, and I will go into the second darkest value and also add some details by drawing small lines on the stem. Now I will use the darkest color, and that is Faber Castell Watercolor 457. Now I'll be using the Goldfish light brown pencil color, and that is 5281. Now using the same yellow color, I used it on the tie knot, and I simply used the color that is the light brown Goldfish 5281 to add a bit more definition to it. Now comes the last part, that is adding the shadows on the stems using the black color. I think the black color is so amazing that it is always going to help you to achieve the realism. Never forget that. So it has more definition to it, and it may look like it has a shadow on one side and the highlight on the other side. You can erase any mistakes, anything that any pigment that is going outside of the outline to make it more beautiful and clear and clean. So for that I use the Tombow Mono eraser. And the last part is adding the shadow underneath the cherries or whatever the reference you are following. You need to see where the light is coming from and where the shadows are. So guys, this is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed the video and learned something from it. So make sure you try to do it and share with me on my Instagram account. I would love to see your creativity too. So guys, I'll meet you again with another video soon. Till then, take care.